know that he's weird, right? But he's also weird. Now, for those of you who might not know, this is Lin-Manuel Miranda. But why might he be weird? Well, Lin-Manuel Miranda is weird for two reasons. One, he wrote a historical Broadway play in rap music. And two, he used a mostly people of color cast, and while Broadway is mostly used as white. In my opinion, weird should not be used as an insult, because taking the weird path can be a good thing. My name is Abagael, I'm 12 years old, and my TEDx talk is That's Weird. I want people to realize that even though weird is labeled by society as bad, it can sometimes lead to great things. Just look at Lin-Manuel Miranda or Steve Jobs. I want to encourage people that weird is okay, and your future you will become the best that it can be by taking the paths that are right for you, or you, or you, weird or not, socially accepted or not. Now, I briefly mentioned Steve Jobs, but why is he weird? Steve Jobs founded Apple, as I'm sure most of you know. He got kicked out of his own company and then bought it back. I mean, that's pretty weird. Another way that he's weird is, I'm sure most of you have iPhones in your pocket. If you open those up to the inside wiring, it's aesthetically pleasing even there. He wanted computers to be aesthetically pleasing to the minutest of details on the inside of the iPhones that you never even see. I mean, that's pretty weird. Here's one that's been on the news lately. Elon Musk. He just launched a rocket into space with his own car, a Tesla. He owns Tesla, by the way, with a fake astronaut blaring into the moon. He also launched that rocket using half the funds that it typically takes because he took weird paths to get there. Here's one that we all know is weird. Lady Gaga. She's done some weird things, like, wearing a dress made out of meat and having a new hairstyle every time you blink. She's still famous and well-loved and uses her influence to speak out against real issues in the world. Now, here's some weird jobs that pay a lot of money, and I'm sure, and I know that I want to do some of these. You can be a professional bridesmaid, if you love weddings, for $300 to $2,000, and that's per wedding. You can be a professional mannequin, a live mannequin, for $100 an hour. You just stand there and wear fancy clothes. I know my sister would love that one. A professional furniture tester. Sign me up. You literally just sit on stuff, and you get $31,000 a year. This one's a little disgusting, I know. Pet food tester. Yeah, it's disgusting, but would you do it for $40,000 a year? Yeah, maybe not a lot of money for it, but still, I mean, if you're broke, there's something. You can be a golf ball diver for $100K per year. This one's for you thrill seekers. A water slide tester. A little bit dangerous, but it pays $30K. You can be normal food this time, I promise. A normal food tester for $56K per year. You can be a food stylist. For those of you who don't know, a food stylist is basically someone who makes the food all pretty for commercials and ads and the like. That's $33,000 to $58,000. And you might think that's per year, but that's per photo shoot. And if they're good, they can do more than one of those a day. You can be a professional snuggler. 60 bucks an hour. You can be, this one's really weird, paper towel sniffer. Yeah, you just sniff paper towels, that's normal. For $19,000 to $52,000 a year. I mean, you're barely doing anything. I could do that on my couch. Here's a really weird job. Minecraft YouTubers, like DanTDM. I admit I do watch them from time to time, but if you really think about it, it's pretty weird. Their entire job description is literally playing a game, videoing them playing that game, posting it online for thousands of people to watch them, and they're rich and famous because of it. Now, I'm in a sort of weird path as well. I am 12, like I said earlier, and I'm doing freshman and high school level work. I'm also looking into shadowing at some companies like Lockheed Martin, an electrical engineering plant here in Fort Worth, or X Labs, a think tank based in California. And I'm hoping to do internships in those two places as well. There's another person in my family who's about my age and who's also on a sort of weird path. Her name is Haley, and she's my cousin. She's a year and a month younger than me exactly. Haley came out of the womb knowing that she wanted to be a vet. That's been her dream job her entire life. And her parents have taken a couple of weird paths to get there. She lived in the suburbs for most of her life, but lately her parents have moved onto land and gotten animals to help her. Haley takes care of chickens, turkeys, sheep, goats, a cow that just randomly wandered onto their land during the hurricane, and an alpaca. Show of hands, how many of you actually seen an alpaca? Okay, most of you, actually. That's slightly disappointing. This is Haley's alpaca. Yeah, that's me standing next to it as well. It still scares me a little bit. Look at those eyes. Ugh. Anyway, I'm sure most of you have most likely heard of gifted kids at least once in your life. And there's something that gifted kids do that can be considered kind of weird. It's what's termed deep dives. Now, a deep dive is when these kids will become incredibly interested in one topic, let's say dark matter or something. And they'll go all in, researching and drawing their own conclusions and doing tests. And then when the deep dive is over, they'll go about their normal lives until another thing catches their interest, and the whole process will start all over again. I know I've done a couple of deep dives myself. Now, how might this apply to you all? You might thought that those jobs were incredibly weird and you'd never do anything like them. You might not identify with any of the people I mentioned earlier and think they're all crazy. Well, my point is not that you should go be weird and do whatever you want and go against society, because that's not right for everyone. What might be best for you might be what's best for what society thinks is best for you. Or what's best for you might be something completely different. What I'm saying is you should not ever do exactly what the person right next to you is doing, because there's a very slim chance it'll be what's right for you. You want to do what's best for you, whether that's weird or not. Now, here's the big question. Why do people think weird is bad? There's such a stigma against the word weird in our culture. It's an insult. But why? Well, I personally think, and I'm not an expert or have done extensive research on the subject, but I personally think it's because society or people in general are afraid or unsure of what to do with people who are different, people who go against the norm. But I'm here to tell you, don't be afraid to be different, to make waves. Now, this is to satisfy a little personal curiosity of mine, but how many of you have ever gone against the norm? Show of hands. That's actually a healthy number of you. How many of you have been called weird and discouraged because of it? Every single one of them. That's incredibly discouraging. So why? Why did just because they were different or went against the norm, did they be called weird and discouraged because of it? I'm calling for a change. For those of you who didn't raise their hands, I challenge you to not be afraid to do what's best for you, nobody else. And for those of you who did raise your hands, I challenge you to not be afraid to do what's best for you as well. I want you to ignore the people who are putting you down. Do what's best for you, no one else. Not what society says, not what the person next to you says, not what your parents say. Do what's best for you. I challenge you. Don't be afraid to be different, to make waves, to be weird. I mean, at one point, everybody knew the world was flat. And then one guy was like, guys, I kind of have something to tell you. This is what the world looks like. And he was eventually killed for it. No, I'm not saying you should go get killed because you're so weird. I'd rather not have that on my conscience, thank you very much. What I am saying is the world is changed and made better by the radical thinkers, the weird ones. I mean, even Jesus was considered weird at the time. I'll reiterate it one more time. I challenge you to not be afraid to be weird, to be different, to make waves.